The alarm bells rang loud across the bridge of the Zephyrian battlecruiser Void Striker. Commander Vexal stood tall on his command platform, his green-scaled skin gleaming under the bright lights. His yellow eyes focused on the large screen, showing a human ship floating quietly in space ahead of them, Port Vexal ordered in his deep voice. His long tail swished behind him as he waited. Lieutenant Kralvin stepped forward and bowed his head. "Commander, we have found a human colony ship. It appears to be heading toward the outer planets. Our scans show about 200 humans on board." Vexal smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Perfect. Any weapons?" "Very few, sir. Some basic defense systems, but nothing that can hurt us. They look like simple colonists trying to find a new home." The commander nodded. This would be easy. The Zephyrian Empire had been raiding ships like this for many years. Humans were weak and scared easily, made good workers in the mines and factories. Some of the younger ones could be sold for high prices at the slave markets. "Send them a message," Vexal said. "Tell them to surrender now, and we will not hurt them." On the human colony ship New Horizon, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge. His hands were shaking as he looked at the huge alien ship on his screen. He had heard stories about the Zephyrians, but had never seen one of their ships. Before, it was 3 times bigger than his ship and covered with weapons. "Sir, they are sending us a message," said his communications officer, a young woman named Amy Carter. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The face of Commander Vexal appeared on the screen. The alien looked mean and dangerous. When he spoke, his voice was cold and hard. "Human ship, this is Commander Vexal of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender immediately. Turn off your engines and prepare to be boarded. If you try to run or fight, we will destroy your ship. You have 2 minutes to decide." The screen went black. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked scared. He knew they had no choice. Their ship was not built for fighting. It was made for carrying families to new worlds. "What do we do?" asked Amy. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about all the families on his ship. There were mothers and fathers with their children. They had left Earth hoping for a better life. They were about to become slaves. "Open a channel," Jake said quietly. Amy pressed some buttons. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Morrison of the New Horizon. We surrender. Please do not hurt the families on board. Many of them are children." Back on the Void Striker, Vexal laughed. "Good. They are smart. Prepare the boarding teams. I want all humans captured alive. Check them for anything valuable." Lieutenant Kralvin bowed again. "Yes, sir." "Should we separate the adults from the children?" "Yes. The young ones are worth more money. Put them in different holding areas. Make sure none of them escape." Within an hour, Zephyrian soldiers had boarded the New Horizon. They moved through the ship quickly, grabbing every human they could find. The aliens were tall and strong, with thick green skin and sharp claws. They carried energy weapons that could stun or kill. In the main passenger area, families hugged each other as the soldiers rounded them up. 8-year-old twin brothers Danny and Kevin Walsh held hands tightly as their parents tried to stay calm. Their mother, Linda Walsh, was a teacher from Chicago. Their father, Paul Walsh, worked as an engineer. "It will be okay, boys," Linda whispered to her sons. "Just stay close to us." But the Zephyrian soldiers had other plans. They began separating the children from their parents. Parents cried and begged. The aliens did not care. 12-year-old Lisa Chen was pulled away from her father, Dr. Robert Chen, who was a scientist. Lisa was small for her age, but very smart. She had always been different from other kids. Sometimes she could tell what people were thinking or feeling. Her father had told her to keep this ability secret. 10-year-old Marcus Johnson was also taken from his mother, Angela Johnson, who was a computer programmer. Marcus had always been good with machines. He could fix broken toys and electronics without being taught how. His mother thought he was just naturally gifted. The children were pushed into a large cargo hold that had been turned into a prison. The room was cold and dark with metal walls and a few dim lights. There were about 40 children total, ranging from age 5 to 15. Danny Walsh looked around the room with fear in his eyes. His twin brother Kevin stood next to him, trying to be brave. The two boys looked exactly alike with brown hair and blue eyes. "Where are our parents?" Danny asked one of the older kids. "We put them somewhere else," said a teenage boy named Chris Parker. "My dad said the aliens sell kids and adults to different places." Lisa Chen sat in a corner, trying to stay calm. She could feel the emotions of all the other children. They were scared, sad, and confused. But she also felt something else. There was something different about some of these kids. She could sense abilities in them that were similar to her own. Marcus Johnson walked over to the wall where there was a small control panel. The other kids watched as he stared at it. Without touching anything, the lights in the room became a little brighter. "How did you do that?" asked Kevin Walsh. Marcus looked confused. "I do not know. I just wanted more light, and it happened." Meanwhile, Commander Vexal was reviewing the list of captured humans. His soldiers had found some valuable things on the ship, including rare metals and computer equipment. But the real prize was the humans themselves. Sir Lieutenant Krolvan reported, "We have secured 193 humans. 42 of them are children. The rest are adults." "Excellent," Vexal said. "How long until we reach Proxima Station?" "For days." "At current speed, sir?" Vexal nodded. Proxima Station was the biggest slave market in this part of the galaxy. He would get good prices for healthy humans, especially the children. The money would help fund more raids and buy better weapons for his ship. "Keep the humans locked up and give them just enough food and water to stay alive," Vexal ordered. "I do not want any of them getting sick before we sell them." Back in the children's holding area, something strange was happening. Danny Walsh was staring at a metal food container across the room. Slowly, the container began to slide across the floor toward him. His brother Kevin watched in amazement. "Danny, how are you doing that?" Kevin whispered. "I do not know," Danny replied. "I just think about it moving, and it moves." Lisa Chen noticed what was happening and walked over to the twins. She had been watching several of the children and realized that many of them could do things that normal kids could not do. "You have special abilities," she told Danny quietly. "Some of us do. We need to be careful. If the aliens find out, they might hurt us." Marcus Johnson joined their small group. "I can make machines work better," he said softly. "I do not understand how, but I can feel what they are thinking." Kevin Walsh suddenly felt angry about being taken from his parents. As his anger grew, the temperature in the room began to rise. The other children started to notice it was getting warmer. "Kevin, you need to calm down," Lisa said. She could sense his emotions and knew he was causing the temperature change. "You are making the room hot." Kevin took deep breaths and tried to relax. Slowly, the room cooled down to normal temperature. The four children looked at each other with understanding. They were different from normal humans, and they were not alone. But they had to be very careful. The alien soldiers discovered their abilities. There was no telling what might happen to them. As the Void Striker continued its journey toward Proxima Station, none of the Zephyrians realized that they had just made the biggest mistake in their military careers. They thought they had captured weak human children, but they had actually taken something far more dangerous than they could ever imagine. 3 days had passed since the Void Striker captured the human colony ship. Commander Vexal sat in his private quarters, reading reports from his officers. Everything seemed normal, but small problems kept happening around the ship. Lieutenant Krolvan entered the room and bowed. "Commander, I need to report some strange issues." Vexal looked up from his datapad. "What kind of issues?" "The security cameras near the human holding areas keep going offline for short periods. Our engineers check them, but they find nothing wrong. The cameras work perfectly when they test them. Probably just old equipment," Vexal said. "Else, the food delivery system has been acting weird. Sometimes the humans get twice as much food as we programmed. The computer shows no errors, but the extra food appears anyway." Vexal frowned. His ship was only 5 years old. The equipment should not be having these problems. "Have Chief Engineer Quintal run a full diagnostic on all systems?" "Yes, sir." "There is one more thing. Some of the locked doors in the human sections have been found open, but the computer shows no record of anyone opening them." This made Vexal angry. Security was very important on his ship. He checked all the door locks. If any of my crew is helping the humans, I will throw them out of the airlock." "I already checked, sir. All crew members were at their posts when the doors were found open. It makes no sense." After Kralvin left, Vexal felt worried. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen problems like these. But he had more important things to think about. In one more day, they would reach Proxima Station and sell the humans in the children's holding area. The young humans were learning more about their strange abilities. Danny Walsh had been practicing moving objects with his mind. He could now slide food containers across the room without anyone noticing. His twin brother Kevin had discovered he could change the temperature around him. When he felt scared or angry, the air got hot. When he felt sad, it became cold. He was trying to learn how to control it better. Lisa Chen was the smartest of the group. She could read people's emotions and sometimes their thoughts. She had been watching the Zephyrian guards and learning about them. She knew which ones were mean and which ones were just doing their job. Marcus Johnson spent most of his time near the walls, touching the metal panels. He could feel the ship's computer systems like they were alive. The ship's brain was very different from human computers, but he was starting to understand how it worked. "I can feel the whole ship," Marcus whispered to the other children. "Computers are everywhere. They control the lights, the doors, the air, everything. Can you make them do what you want?" asked Lisa. "A little bit. I made the cameras stop working for a few minutes yesterday, and I made the food machine give us extra meals." Danny looked amazed. "You did that?" The guards were very confused. "I also opened some doors," Marcus continued. "I wanted to see if I could help the adults, but there are too many guards." The 4 children had become the leaders of their group. The other kids looked up to them and followed their advice. But not all the children had special powers. Only about half of them could do strange things. 15-year-old Sarah Kim could make small objects disappear and reappear in different places. 11-year-old Tony Martinez could see in complete darkness, like it was daytime. 9-year-old Emma Davis could heal small cuts and bruises by touching them. "We need to be more careful," Lisa warned them. "I can feel that some of the guards are getting suspicious. They know something weird is happening, but they do not know what." In another part of the ship, Dr. Helen Grant was locked up with the other adults. She was a scientist who studied how different species evolved and changed. Over time, she had been on the colony ship to help set up research labs on the new planet. Dr. Grant had noticed that many of the children taken from their group were special. She had worked with the government on Earth, studying kids with unusual abilities. The project was top secret. Most parents did not even know their children were being watched. She knew that human evolution was changing. About 1 in every 50 children born in the last 10 years showed some kind of psychic ability. Bloody government called them gifted and had been trying to understand how their powers worked. "We have to get word back to Earth," Dr. Grant whispered to Captain Jake Morrison, who was in the same holding cell. "Some of those children are part of a classified program. If other alien races find out about their abilities, it could be very dangerous for humanity." Jake looked confused. "What do you mean? What abilities?" "I cannot tell you everything, but some human children are developing powers that should not be possible. Moving things with their minds, reading thoughts, controlling machines. The government has been studying this for years." "Are you saying the kids on this ship have these powers?" "I think so. I've been watching them, and I can see the signs. If the aliens figure out what they have captured, those children will never be sold as slaves. They will be turned into weapons or used for experiments." Back on Earth, Admiral Patricia Brooks sat at her desk in the Pentagon. She had just received terrible news. The colony ship New Horizon had disappeared 3 days ago. What made it worse was that several children from the gifted program were on that ship. The families had been told their children were going to a new planet for better educational opportunities. In reality, the government wanted to see how the children's abilities developed in a different environment. Now, those same children were probably in the hands of hostile aliens. "We need to find them," Admiral Brooks told her aide, Colonel Ray Turner. "Those children cannot fall into the wrong hands." "Ma'am, we have no idea where they are. Space is huge, and we do not even know which alien race took them. Then we start looking everywhere. Send messages to all our allies. put every available ship on search missions. Those children are more important than you realize. On the Void Striker, Chief Engineer Quintel was running his diagnostic tests. He had checked every system on the ship twice, but everything looked normal. The computers were working perfectly. The doors were secure. The cameras functioned correctly. This makes no sense, Quintel muttered to himself. He was the best engineer in the Zephyrian fleet. If there was a problem with the ship, he should be able to find it. He decided to check the areas near the human prisoners one more time. As he walked down the corridor, he noticed the temperature was warmer than usual. He checked his scanner, but the environmental controls showed normal settings. When he reached the children's holding area, he looked through the small window in the door. The young humans were sitting quietly, talking in small groups. They looked harmless and scared, just like human children should look. But as Quintel watched, he saw something that made his blood run cold. One of the smaller boys was staring at a piece of metal on the floor. The metal began to move across the room by itself, sliding toward the boy like it was alive. Quintel rubbed his eyes and looked again. The metal had stopped moving. The boy was now talking to his friends like nothing had happened. Possible, Quintel whispered. Humans do not have those kinds of abilities. He quickly walked back to his engineering station and pulled up all the files they had on human capabilities. According to their database, humans were weak creatures with no special powers. They were good at building things and solving problems, but they could not move objects with their minds. Quintel decided not to report what he had seen. The other officers would think he was crazy. But he made a mental note to watch the human children more carefully in the holding area. Lisa Chen suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. She could sense that someone had been watching them, and that person had seen something they should not have seen. We need to be more careful, she told the others. I think one of the aliens saw Danny move that metal piece. Danny looked scared. What will they do to us? I do not know. But we cannot let them find out about all of us. From now on, we only use our abilities when we absolutely have to. Marcus nodded. I can feel the ship's computers getting stronger. I think I might be able to do bigger things soon. But Lisa is right. We have to be smart about this. As the Void Striker continued toward Proxima Station, both sides were starting to realize that this was not a normal situation. Oh. The aliens were beginning to suspect that their human prisoners were more than they appeared to be. We're learning that their abilities were growing stronger every day. Neither side knew that they were about to discover something that would change the balance of power in the entire galaxy. The fourth day aboard the Void Striker started with chaos. Commander Vexal was woken up by loud alarms echoing through his ship. He jumped out of his bed and ran to the bridge, still wearing his sleeping clothes. "Report," he shouted as he entered. The command center, Lieutenant Krolvin, looked panicked. "Sir, we have fires breaking out in 3 different sections. The automatic fire systems are not working properly, and the artificial gravity keeps turning on and off in the lower decks." Vexal stared at the main screen, showing red warning lights all over his ship. "How is this possible? The ship is almost new." "We do not know, sir. Chief Engineer Quintel is trying to fix the problems, but every time he repairs one thing, something else breaks." Before Vexal could respond, another alarm started ringing. The lights on the bridge flickered, and for a moment everyone felt weightless as the gravity failed. "Get me Quintel now!" Vexal roared. In the children's holding area, Kevin Walsh was having a nightmare. He dreamed that the aliens were hurting his parents. In his sleep, he became angry and scared. His special ability to control temperature was reacting to his emotions, but this time it was much stronger than before. The air around Kevin became very hot. Then it became cold. Then hot again. The metal walls started to expand and contract from the temperature changes. This put stress on the ship's systems and caused problems throughout the Void Striker. Danny Walsh tried to wake up his twin brother. Kevin, wake up. You are making the ship shake." Kevin opened his eyes and saw that frost was forming on the walls around him, even though moments before it had been burning hot. "I was dreaming about Mom and Dad," he said with tears in his eyes. "You have to control it," Lisa Chen said as she hurried over to them. "Your emotions are affecting your power. I can feel it getting stronger." Meanwhile, Marcus Johnson was pressed. against the wall with his hands on a control panel. His eyes were closed, and he looked like he was concentrating very hard. The other children watched as lights flickered and machines made strange noises. "Marcus, what are you doing?" asked Sarah. "Kim, the girl who could make things disappear." "I can feel the whole ship now," Marcus said without opening his eyes. "It is like a giant computer and I can touch all the parts. The aliens are trying to fix things, but I keep changing the computer codes. You are causing the fires in gravity." "Problems?" Danny asked. "Some of them. Kevin's temperature changes are breaking things too. And I think our abilities are getting stronger because we are all together." Lisa Chen could sense that Marcus was right. She could feel the emotions and thoughts of everyone on the ship now, not just the people close to her. The alien crew was becoming very scared and confused. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Quintal was having the worst day of his career. Every system he tried to repair would work for a few minutes, then break again in a different way. It was like the ship itself was fighting against him. "This is impossible," he muttered as he stared at his diagnostic equipment. "The computer codes keep changing by themselves. Someone is rewriting the ship's programs, but there is no one at the computer terminals." I thought about what he had seen 2 days ago, the human boy moving metal with his mind. Could the humans really be causing these problems? It seemed crazy, but nothing else made sense. Quintal decided he had to tell Commander Vexal what he suspected. He left his engineering station and headed for the bridge. On Earth, Captain Ryan Torres was preparing his stealth ship Shadowwing for launch. Admiral Brooks had given him a dangerous mission: find the missing colony ship and rescue the children before they could be sold or worse. "Sir," said his navigation officer, Lieutenant Beth Adams, "we have no idea which direction they went. Space is huge." "We start by checking the most likely slave markets," Ryan replied. "Proxima Station is the biggest one in this sector. If someone captured humans for profit, that is where they would go." The Shadowwing was the most advanced ship in the human fleet. It could become invisible to most alien sensors and travel very fast. But even with its special abilities, finding one ship in the vastness of space would be like looking for a single grain of sand on a beach. Back on the Void Striker, Commander Vexal was getting more worried by the hour. His ship was falling apart around him, and none of his engineers could explain why. The fires were getting worse. The gravity system was completely unreliable. Chief Engineer Quintal finally reached the bridge. He looked nervous as he approached his commander. "I need to tell you something that sounds crazy," Quintal said. "Nothing sounds crazy anymore," Vexal replied. "My ship is destroying itself for no reason. Tell me what you think." "I think the human children are causing these problems. I saw one of them move an object with his mind 2 days ago, I think. They have abilities we do not know about." Vexal stared at his chief engineer. "That is impossible. Humans do not have psychic powers. Our intelligence reports show they are a weak species." "But what if our reports are wrong? What if some humans have developed new abilities? It would explain everything that is happening." Before Vexal could respond, another massive failure hit the ship. All the lights went out for 10 seconds. When they came back on, the main computer was speaking in a human language instead of Zephyrian. "Computer, respond in Zephyrian," Vexal ordered. "I am sorry, Commander, but I am having trouble with my language programs," the computer replied. In perfect English, Vexal and his officers looked at each other with shock. Their ship's computer had never spoken any language except Zephyrian in the holding area. Dr. Helen Grant was trying to help the children understand what was happening. To them, she had been watching their abilities grow stronger each day. "You need to work together," she told them quietly. "Your powers seem to be connected somehow. When you combine them, they become much more powerful. But we do not want to hurt anyone," said Lisa Chen. "We just want to go home." "I know, but you might not have a choice. These aliens plan to sell you as slaves. You may have to use your abilities to escape." Marcus Johnson opened his eyes and looked at Dr. Grant. "I have been learning about their ship. I think I can take control of more systems. But it might damage the ship badly." "How badly?" Dr. Grant asked. "Maybe badly enough that it cannot fly anymore." Dr. Grant thought about this. If the ship was damaged, The aliens could not reach the slave market. But they would also be trapped in space with angry aliens who might hurt the prisoners. Wait until we get closer to the slave station, she advised. Other ships will be around to help if something goes wrong. Tony Martinez, the boy who could see in the dark, was watching the door. Someone is coming, he whispered. 3 guards. The children quickly sat down and tried to look normal. But their abilities were becoming harder to control. Kept changing slightly. Small objects moved when no one was touching them. The lights flickered in patterns that seemed to match their heartbeats. The Zephyrian guards entered the room and looked around suspiciously. One of them carried a scanner that beeped and flashed as he pointed it at different children. These readings are all wrong, the guard muttered. The scanner shows energy patterns that should not exist in humans. Lisa Chen could feel the guard's confusion and growing fear. She realized that the aliens were starting to understand that something was very different about their prisoners. As the guards left, she gathered the other gifted children around her. They know something is wrong. We need to be ready to act. Soon, Kevin Walsh looked at his brother Danny. I do not want to hurt anyone, but I do not want to be a slave either. None of us do, Danny replied. But Dr. Grant is right. We might have to fight. Emma Davis, the girl who could heal injuries, spoke up. If we have to fight, I can help fix anyone who gets hurt. The children were no longer thinking like scared prisoners. They were starting to think like a team. Their abilities were growing stronger every hour. And they were learning to work together in ways that even Dr. Grant had not expected. On the bridge of the Void Striker, Commander Vexal made a decision. That would change everything. He decided to confront the human children directly and find out what they really were. Kralvin, gather a full security team. We're going to have a talk with our prisoners. All of them, sir. No, just the children. I want to know what they are hiding. As the Zephyrian soldiers prepared for what they thought would be a simple interrogation, they had no idea they were about to face something that would challenge everything they believed about humans and their place in the galaxy. Commander Vexal marched through the corridors of his ship with 6 armed guards behind him. The ship's systems were failing, faster than his engineers could fix them. As they walked toward the children's holding area, the lights flickered above them. Guards nervously. Maybe we should bring more soldiers. They are just children, Vexal growled. He had been connected to the ship's computer system for the past hour, learning more about how it worked. Now he could feel the aliens coming toward them. Lisa Chen stood up and gathered the gifted children around her. She could sense the emotions of the approaching aliens through the walls. In their minds, we cannot hide anymore, she said calmly. I think so. But what if I hurt someone by accident? We will be careful, Lisa said. Remember what I told you? Your abilities are connected. When you work together, you become much stronger. But you also need to stay in control. The other children who did not have special abilities moved to the back of the room. They were scared but trusted their friends to protect them. Marcus placed both hands on the wall and closed his eyes again. I can feel the whole ship now. Computer systems, the engines, the weapons, everything. It is like the ship is becoming part of me. Suddenly, the door to their prison opened with a loud hiss. The aliens looked around the room with their weapons ready. Which one of you is causing the problems on my ship? Vexal demanded in his deep voice. The children stared at him but did not answer. Lisa Chen stepped forward slightly, putting herself between the commander and the younger kids. We do not know what you mean, she said. We're just prisoners. Vexal's tail swished angrily behind him. Computer systems changed their programming. This is not normal. It was working perfectly until we brought you aboard. As the commander's voice got louder, Kevin Walsh began to feel scared and angry. The temperature in the room started to rise. The metal walls began to expand from the heat. One of the guards noticed sweat forming on his forehead. But the environmental controls showed normal temperature. The door. Kevin, calm down, Lisa whispered. But she could feel his emotions spinning out of control. Suddenly, the temperature dropped so fast that frost began forming on the walls. The guard's breath became visible in the suddenly freezing air. Impossible, Vexal whispered, staring at the frost. Humans cannot do this. That was when Danny decided to Show the aliens exactly what humans could do. He looked at the weapon in the nearest guard's hand and focused his mind on it. The energy rifle began to float out of the guard's grip. The guard tried to hold on to his weapon. You want to know what is wrong with your ship? Danny said, his voice much braver than he felt. We are what is wrong with your ship. The guards raised their remaining weapons, but before they could fire, Marcus Johnson opened his eyes and smiled. The lights went out for 3 seconds, then came back on. Your weapons, Marcus said calmly. I can control any machine on this ship now. Commander Vexal felt something he had never experienced in 30 years of military service. Pure terror. These were not normal humans. They were something else entirely. What are you? This time, she did not speak with her mouth. Her voice appeared directly in Vexal's mind. We are the future of humanity, her mental voice said. He could feel the girl's presence in his thoughts, showing him images of what humans might become. He saw thousands of human children with abilities like these. He saw them working together to move entire spaceships with their minds. He saw them healing the sick and controlling vast computer networks. He saw them as a force that could challenge every other species in the galaxy. This is impossible, Vexal said out loud. Your reports are wrong, Dr. Helen Grant said, stepping forward. Sarah Kim, the girl who could make objects disappear, decided to demonstrate her power. She pointed at one of the guards' helmets. It vanished from his head and reappeared on the other side of the room. Tony Martinez, who could see incomplete. Darkness made all the lights go out. Even in the blackness, he could see perfectly. He walked over and touched each guard on the shoulder before the lights came back on. Emma Davis placed her hand on a small cut on another child's arm. The aliens watched in amazement and growing fear. There are more of you, Vexal said. Many more, Lisa replied, still speaking directly into his mind. And they are learning to use their abilities just like we are. Marcus Johnson stood up and walked to the wall. He placed his hand on a control panel, and suddenly every screen in the room lit up. The screens showed different parts of the ship. I have been learning how it works for days. I can turn off the engines. I can open all the doors. I can even change the course to take us back to Earth instead of the slave market. You were just children, one of the guards whispered. Yes, Danny Walsh said, floating several small objects around his head. We are just children. Imagine what we will be able to do when we grow up. Now he made the air around Vexal very cold, then very hot, then normal again. Should not have taken us from our parents. Commander Vexal looked around the room at the children. They were not acting like scared prisoners anymore. They were confident and powerful, and they were working together like a team. What do you want? He asked. We want to go home, Lisa Chen said simply. We want our parents. We want you to. Promise never to attack human ships again. If I refuse? Marcus smiled, and every light on the ship went out for 5 seconds. Then we take control of your ship completely, Marcus said. We are strong enough to do it now. Dr. Helen Grant stepped forward. Commander, you need to understand something. These children are not angry or evil. They just want their freedom. But if you force them to fight, you will lose. And when word gets back to Earth about what happened here, humanity will know that we are not as helpless as other species think. He had thought he was capturing weak humans to sell as slaves. Instead, he had discovered that humanity was evolving into something that could threaten the balance of power in the entire galaxy. My ship, he said quietly. Can you fix the damage you have caused? Maybe, Marcus replied, but only if you agree to let us go. The commander looked at his guards. No one wanted. Commander Vexal was ready to surrender to his prisoners. Commander Vexal stood in the middle of the children's holding area, surrounded by beings he no longer understood. His ship was dying around him, and these small humans were the only ones who could save it. The irony was not lost on him. I agree to release you, he said slowly. How do I know you will not destroy my ship anyway? Lisa Chen looked at him with eyes that seemed older than her 12 years. Because we are not like you. We do not hurt people just because we can.
Marcus.
Johnson kept his hand on the wall panel. Through the ship's computer, he could feel everything that was happening on the Void Striker. The engines were running at only 60% power. The life support systems were struggling. Several hull sections were showing stress fractures from the temperature changes Kevin had caused. "Your ship is badly damaged," Marcus said. "If I do not help fix it soon, it will break apart completely. Everyone on board will die, including us." This made Commander Vexal even more worried. "How long do we have? Maybe 6 hours?"
Ow!
Is getting weaker every minute.
Out.
Dr. Helen Grant stepped forward. "Commander, you need to understand something important. When we get back to Earth, the human government will know what happened here. They will know that some of our children have these abilities. This secret cannot be hidden anymore." "What does that mean?" Vexal asked. "It means everything changes. Other alien races will learn about human abilities. Some will want to be our allies. Others will see us as a threat that needs to be destroyed." Kevin Walsh was listening to the adults talk, but he was thinking about his parents. "Where are our mothers and fathers? We want to see them." "They are in a different holding area," Vexal replied. "They are safe. Bring them here," Danny Walsh demanded. "We want to know they are okay." Vexal looked at his guards. They were still staring at the children with fear and amazement. "Go get the adult prisoners," he ordered. "Bring them here." As the guards left, Marcus suddenly turned his head toward the ceiling. "There is another ship coming," he said. "It is moving very fast, and it is trying to hide from your sensors." "How do you know this?" Vexal asked. "I can feel it through your computer systems. It is sending signals on human frequencies." "Captain, Ryan Torres and his crew aboard the Shadow Wing had been searching for 3 days. They had followed reports of alien ship movements and checked every possible route to the slave markets. Finally, their sensors had picked up the energy signature of a Zephyrian battlecruiser. "There," said Lieutenant Beth Adams, pointing at her. "Screen, one ship, moving slowly toward Proxima Station. It matches the size and type that could have captured the colony ship." "Take us in quietly," Ryan ordered. "We do not want them to know we are here until we are ready to attack." But Marcus Johnson already knew they were coming. Through the Void Striker's sensors, he could feel the human ship approaching. He could even sense the emotions of the people on board. They were determined and angry. "They are here to rescue us," Marcus told the other children. "I can feel their thoughts. They're planning to attack this ship." Lisa Chen concentrated hard and reached out with her mind. She had never tried to communicate over such a long distance before, but her abilities had been growing stronger every day. Slowly, she made contact with someone on the approaching ship. Captain Ryan Torres suddenly felt a strange sensation in his head. It was like someone was trying to talk to him, but not with words. "This is Lisa Chen," a young voice said in his mind. "We are the children from the colony ship New Horizon." "Can you hear me, Ryan?" Nearly fell out of his command chair. He looked around at his crew, but none of them seemed to hear anything unusual. "I can hear you," he thought back, not sure if it would work. "Do not attack the alien ship," Lisa's mental voice continued. "We are negotiating with them. If you attack, people might get hurt. Are you safe? Are your parents safe?" "Yes, but the alien ship is badly damaged. We need to work together to fix this situation." Ryan turned to his crew. "Change of plans. You're not attacking. I need to talk to Admiral Brooks immediately." Back. On the Void Striker, the guards returned with the adult prisoners. Parents rushed to hug their children. Linda and Paul Walsh held their twin boys tightly. Dr. Robert Chen embraced his daughter Lisa. Angela Johnson cried as she held Marcus. "We thought we would never see you again," Linda Walsh said through her tears. "We are okay, Mom," Danny replied. "But we learned some new things while we were locked up." Dr. Helen Grant quickly explained to the other adults what had been happening. She told them about the children's abilities and how they had been growing stronger. "This is impossible," said Dr. Robert Chen. "Lisa never showed any signs of psychic abilities before. The abilities seemed to develop under stress," Dr. Grant explained. "Being captured and separated from you probably triggered something in their brains." Captain Jake Morrison looked at Commander Vexal. "What happens now? Will you let us go?" Vexal was quiet for a long moment. He was thinking about everything he had learned. These humans were not the weak species his government thought they were. They had abilities that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. "I will make a deal with you," he finally said. "Your children help repair my ship, and I will take you back to human space. But I want something in return." "What?" Dr. Grant asked suspiciously. "I want to speak with your government. I want to arrange a meeting between the Zephyrian Empire and Earth. Things are going to change now that we know about your abilities. It's better if we work together instead of fighting." Lisa Chen looked surprised. "You want to be our allies?" "I want to survive," Vexal said honestly. "If human children can do what you can do, then humanity will become very powerful very quickly. My empire needs to decide if we want to be your friends or your enemies." Marcus Johnson smiled. "I can fix your ship, but it will take time. I will need help from the other children." "We will help," said Kevin Walsh. "But you have to promise never to capture humans again. You have to tell other alien races about our abilities," added Danny Walsh. "No more secrets." Dr. Grant looked. "Worried? Are you sure about that? Once everyone knows, there will be no going back." "People should know the truth," Lisa Chen said. "We cannot hide what we are forever." For the next 4 hours, the gifted children worked together to repair the Void Striker. Marcus controlled the computer systems while Kevin carefully used his temperature abilities to reshape damaged metal. Danny moved heavy repair equipment to places the alien engineers could not reach. Lisa coordinated their efforts by connecting their minds together. The other children helped in smaller ways. Sarah Kim made broken pieces disappear and reappear in the right positions. Tony Martinez could see damage in dark areas where no lights worked. Emma Davis healed stress fractures in the hull by touching them. The adult humans and alien crew worked side by side, watching in amazement as children. "Accomplished repairs that should have taken weeks, Captain." Ryan Torres received permission from Admiral Brooks to dock with the alien ship. When he came aboard the Void Striker, he could hardly believe what he saw. Human children were fixing an alien battlecruiser while their parents talked peacefully with reptilian soldiers. "This is not what I expected," Ryan said to Dr. Grant. "None of us expected this," she replied. "But maybe it is better this way. Instead of starting a war, we might be starting a friendship." Commander Vexal kept his promise. When the ship was repaired, he set course for Earth instead of Proxima Station. But before they left, he sent a message throughout the Zephyrian Empire. The message contained video recordings of everything the human children had done. Within hours, every alien government in the galaxy knew that humanity was not what they had thought. The small, weak species from Earth had children who could move objects with their minds, control machines with a touch, and heal injuries by thinking about them. Some alien races were excited about the possibilities of working with humans. Others were terrified and began making plans to attack Earth before humanity became too powerful. Marcus Johnson had left a special gift in the Void Striker's computer before they departed. He had programmed the system to record everything that happened and share it with other ships. Soon, the story of the human children would spread throughout the galaxy. As Earth came into view on the main screen, Danny Walsh held his brothers. Handon looked up at the stars. They no longer seemed like distant lights. They looked like places where humans would soon travel. "Everything is going to be different now," he said quietly. "Yes," Lisa Chen agreed. "But maybe different can be better." Dr. Helen Grant watched the children and thought about the future. Humanity had been discovered, but they had also discovered themselves. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would the human race. The age of human expansion into the stars was about to begin, and it would start with the children who had refused to be slaves.